So you're new to Genshin, you do a 10 pull on the current weapon banner, which I don't think you should be doing, and you get Redhorn Stonethresher. Now, in this video, we're going to look at this weapon, its stats, what it does, and who it can be good for. Now, this weapon does get up your crit damage. Its passive defense is increased by 28%, normal and charge attack damage is increased by 40% of defense. This is at R1 and level 80. So this weapon is going to be very, very good for characters that scale off of defense. And the list for characters that can use the majority of this weapon's passive fully is going to be very, very small, like 2 to 3 characters. But to show this weapon in action first, we're actually going to take it off of Noelle, and we are going to give her Aquamarine. This weapon has a similar base attack at level 80, so we're going to see the damage that Noelle does with this, with her normal and charged attacks, with her normal attacks, as well as her burst, and then we're going to swap over to Redhorn. All right, so 239, 221, 307, 285, 335, 440. These are non-crits because Noelle doesn't have any artifacts on her, so she's not critting anything. This is just the base damage. So as you can see, we are sitting in that high 200s, 300s with her burst 568, 529, 619. Still in the 600, 619. That last one was like an 800 one. So you can see that we are getting more damage off of her burst, as we should. But now we're going to equip Redhorn, and we're going to see how much of an increase we're going to get in the damage. Okay, so now we're going to give Noelle Redhorn, and we're going to go back into the same enemies and see how much her normal attacks are doing, as well as her burst, which Noelle does get a buff with defense with her burst, which Noelle does scale on her burst damage with defense. This is going to be very, very good with this weapon. So on the normal attacks now, we're getting 488. That was an 836. I think that was a crit. That 2000 was me getting hit, not Noelle hitting something. 380, 401, 516, 600. So whereas before we were doing an average in the 300s, now we're doing an average in like the 5 to 600s. So now with her burst, we are going to get 859, 809, 763. Again, the average has gone up. That 2000 was a crit. She is now getting an average in the high 700s, low 800s, whereas before it was much lower. So this is going to be a very, very good weapon. So as you can see, this is going to be a very, very good weapon for characters that scale off of defense. So now we're going to look at those characters. So because we use Noelle in the demonstration, we've already talked about her. She does scale off of defense for her burst. So this is going to be very, very good for her. She's going to enjoy the crit damage. She's going to enjoy the defense increase. And she's going to be using her normal and charge attacks on field. So she's going to be able to get the full usefulness of this weapon. Next is going to be Xinyan. Now, this is kind of a weird one for her. She's going to either greatly enjoy the crit damage or greatly enjoy the defense. Her shields do scale off of defense, so she's going to love the defense. However, if you don't have her on field doing the normal attack, she's not going to be able to take use of the second part of that passive. She can enjoy the crit damage because her shield does pulse, so she can make use of like 2/3, 3/4 of this weapon. But if you're using her on field, you're not necessarily going to want to build defense unless you're wanting to build like a hybrid build. So in a hybrid build, maybe she can get 100% out of this weapon. But in general, she's either going to get like the first half or the second half, not necessarily both together. There are builds that you can, but that's kind of a nicher, weirder situation. But she can get full use out of it. Next, we are going to go to the one and only Arataki Itto, and this is actually his signature weapon. So Itto does scale off of defense like Noelle. With his damage, you are going to be using him on field as a main damage dealer, using his normal and charge attacks. He's going to love the crit damage. He's going to love the defense buff. He's going to love everything about this weapon, as he should, because, like I said, it is his signature. So every character from here on out in this video is only going to be able to use part of this weapon. Either they're really going to enjoy the crit damage, or they can kind of use the passive, but they don't scale off a defense, so it's not going to be a major buff. Some of them can use it better than others. So first off, we've got Razor. Now, Razor will be able to enjoy the crit damage. Razor does not scale off of defense in any form or fashion. So while, yes, it will increase his defense, and yes, that little bit of defense is going to give him an extra damage buff, because he doesn't scale off of defense, it's not going to be that high. He really just wants the crit damage. Next is going to be Gaming, and while this fits his aesthetic so well, it's not terribly good for him. The only part of this that he's really going to enjoy is going to be the crit damage. Again, just like Razor, he doesn't really scale off of defense, and most of Gaming's attacks are plunging attacks, so he's not even going to really enjoy the increase in the normal and charge attack damage because he does a lot of plunging damage. Now, I know that D-Luke's already been on the screen 10 seconds longer than he should have. However, on the YouTube channel, somebody did comment asking why I skipped over D-Luke because they had D-Luked and they wish that I wouldn't have skipped over him. So I'm gonna stop doing that, even though it hurts my soul to leave this thing on the screen. So D-Luke can enjoy parts of this. He can enjoy the crit damage. He doesn't scale off a defense like Razor. He will get a slight damage buff because of the little bit of defense that he'll have. Maybe you had some bad rolls into defense on artifacts, and this can kind of help mitigate that a little bit. I'm just trying to make you not feel so bad about those defense rolls. But he, just like every other character that doesn't scale off a defense, he can use it, but mainly he's only going to enjoy the crit damage. Also, Serpent Spine is wasted on him, so I gave this D-Luke a 1-star weapon, just because. Yeah, so that is going to be it for this video. If you do have any questions, you be sure to leave it down in the comments. Myself or somebody else will be sure to answer it, and I will see you in the next one. Yes, doggy, I left D-Luke with a 1-star weapon, and I refuse to change it back because that's all he deserves.